Hey, what up? How's everybody's day? Hope everybody's day is good. I made like 2 videos and I can't find them now, so I don't know. But anyways, there's another one. I watched this other one this morning, that Salty Cracker dude, and he's talking about that Buffalo shooting. I think it's today or something. Just go to Salty Cracker and look for the one where he's talking about the Buffalo shooter was talking to feds or something like that. It's a short video, but really listen to what he says and then think back to the Governor Whitmore case. People might not know this, but that shit was dropped because they found out it was federal agents that did all the planning and all that shit for that kidnapping. But anyways, I was thinking about something yesterday with that Texas shooting and how the cops didn't run in, and then that other school shooting, how the cops didn't run in. And after you get past like the anger part and you're like fucking chilling out like a day or two later, even though you're still fucking pissed off, and you're like, fuck those motherfuckers. Something dawned on me, and I'm kind of wondering if let's say you like binge watch, and sorry if I'm all over the place, but just be patient. I think my mind goes faster than I can talk, so I skip up sometimes. But anyways, let's say you binge watch a show. Just binge watch it for a day or something like that. Then it kind of changes your mindset a little bit. Or if you're on the phone all day watching videos on YouTube or shit that pisses you off or shit that gets you happy, like whatever you're doing, that's kind of gonna set the tone, is what you did, right? So I had a thought yesterday when I was at work, and I was talking to this dude that he just qualified. He has to go take a psych eval and all that shit. He's some Marine fool that is gonna be a cop. And I didn't know that in the beginning, and we would talk shit to each other and just be normal with each other. And it's not that I have anything against cops, but my life experiences with cops, I get kind of, not so much anymore, but I get kind of shut downish a little bit. Like, I have a hard time trusting certain members of law enforcement, mostly because they'll tell you anytime they talk to anybody, regardless if they're, well, this is what some have told me, that doesn't matter if they're on or off duty, they're questioning somebody, you know what I mean? And this dude happens to know about a couple things I do. It's no big deal at all, but where he's gonna be a cop and all this stuff, I could be in trouble a little bit. And I asked him about that. I said, oh shit, so does that mean when you get that position, you're gonna go right after what you know about this stuff? And it's not horrible or nothing like that, but it's still I'm in violation of a couple directives that it's not, I guess, yeah, if you look at it, it's a judge of character, and I'm not perfect. And I kind of go with the grain in a couple aspects, It's nothing like where I dishonor people or anything like that. It's, I smoke cigarettes in places I shouldn't smoke cigarettes. That's a drastic improvement versus where I used to be and things I used to do, But anyways, I was talking to him yesterday, and he was telling me that, and I said, hey, what do you think about this? Those cops that they actually did, they engaged with that Texas school shooter, and then they retreated because they were taking fire, and leaving that dude in the school to fucking mow those kids down and those teachers, and what do you think about that? And and he did the normal thing, fucking coward and this and that. Fucking, he was pissed off a little bit, and he's in control of himself, and he's seems good to go. So he wasn't all emotional about it. He just matter of factly said what he had to say, you know. And he just said, yeah, there's just because somebody has a badge or a uniform on, just because somebody's military or law enforcement, doesn't always mean that they're a hero. Sometimes people just happen to get in those places for other reasons and they don't live up to the standards. And then this thought crossed my mind about how I remember watching The Walking Dead. I think that's what it's called. What is it called? That movie with the zombies? With Rick and all those people. I had binge watched that with my wife one day, and then when I walked outside, I was like, oh, I got the sense like, oh, like a weird, my mind was a little like looking, not that I thought zombies were gonna be out there, but I like had like a weird sense about me, like a certain awareness, and it was because I binge watched that show. So I asked this cop dude, I said, do you think it's possible that because the last, and we can't even say the last 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, but when I was a kid, law enforcement and military were praised in schools. They raised kids to look at these people as heroes, and they're brave and they're all this stuff. And then there was a gap right after I left school where they were trying to dishonor our military and law enforcement. And one of the sickest ways was, to me, in my opinion, I don't know if you're a military member that has issues, you might be able to say something in on this, but I know people that was in a bunch of shit, and I supported them 24/7 since I was a kid, in some kind of hefty ways. If people from the outside seen it, they would think like, oh, what the fuck, you know what I mean? But to me, it was just normal, and I knew I was doing my duty as a son, you know, so it didn't bother me. But he was good to go. A couple other ones good to go. They had some issues, but they knew how to manage them because they just had to deal with it. That was it. I started hearing on the news and in conversations and stuff like that, conditions that soldiers had and all this new stuff, and I was like, well, they went through the same thing that these dudes went through, and the only difference I see is that there's titles now on all this stuff, and they're medicating the fuck out of these fools now versus before. I know they took medications before, I know all that stuff, but not at the level they were after Desert Storm and shit like that. So I started wondering if because of the villainization or the ex-military or combat veteran or terms that were being thrown out, instantly it started changing from those are heroes to, oh, they may have a condition. And society started feeling like, oh, maybe they have a condition, you know. Not everybody, but that started happening maybe in the late 90s, you know, early 2000s. So they started conditioning society to kind of feel like, to look at military members rather than looking at them as heroes and fucking whoa, you know what I mean? And kids wanted to aspire to be military. They started looking at it as, or getting that subliminal feeling of PTSD and didn't come back the same and all the shit, because that's what was being pressed constantly. Same thing with law enforcement. And I'm not trying to downplay that there's some fucked up motherfuckers out there that have a badge, do some fucked up shit. Trust, I fucking know. But I'm wondering if the good ones fuck up, say like not running into a fucking building, maybe subliminally because of the attack they've been under through the media and through society for 20, 30, 40 years, especially really hard to last like 5 or 6 years. I'm wondering if just subliminally that they're conditioned to say, fuck this, I need to protect myself and the dude next to me, fuck this shit, because of the constant every second attack they've been under in media and all that for so long. You know what I mean? And do you guys get that? Like, we have commercials, we have advertisers will tell you, oh, we know how to get somebody thinking we want something sweet or sour or greasy or whatever. Advertisers, they control what we buy by throwing out a commercial, right? And that gets us wanting to buy it. There's people out there that bought stupid ass shit that they're like, what the fuck? They never enjoy it because they never wanted it. The only reason they bought it is because they were influenced to buy it. So if you take away actuals like Coca-Cola or Toyo tires or something like that, and just look at what's being done, there's a sense of control there that somebody knows how to work out, that maybe because of all that fucking cops are bad constantly in the media and fucking everywhere you look, maybe it set cops nationwide into a like kind of like rewired something and subliminally got them to where it's not that they want a Coke, but maybe they're in survival mode 24/7 constantly, and they're about protecting themselves, and maybe they're just like, you lose control and you do certain things, and maybe when their typical hero moment would have kicked in, maybe now it's a survival mode kicked in, and they get out and then blah blah blah, and then we'll see if that's the case, because if these cops start fucking doming themselves because they can't handle the pressure, they know they did something wrong, but maybe they were in a fucking like that fight or flight moment, that fucking, I don't know if how many people have been in a situation where for a minute, and people could say, oh, I'm smooth and calm and cool under pressure, and they could feel like that, but there is that fragment of a second that bam, it's like your body's gonna do something before you think about it. For me, everything kind of slows down and I'm extra chill, just, and it's weird to me. It's almost like how they have like fucking, what's that movie with Morpheus and that Point Break dude, Keanu Reeves, I forget what the name of the movie is, but they're shooting and he's like moving real slow, the bullets are moving real slow. That shit's almost real. It's not, obviously not like that, but shit goes into slow motion for me, and there's dudes that typically would have been able to just fucking, before I even knew it, hit the ground, but because the situation was, the violence of action was so intense in that moment, the way I reacted is, it's almost like my brain slows everything down so I have a chance, you know? So I'm wondering if it has to do with conditioning, and their brains are, like a lot of law enforcement's brains are rewired, oh, what the fuck, are rewired to save themselves in any situation, and they don't realize it until 30 seconds later, 40 seconds, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, you know? And it's obvious somebody in that law enforcement agency lost control, not only because they retreated, but there was somebody yelling to the kids inside the classrooms, yell if you need help, yell if you need help. And this one girl said the girl that she seen yell for help got shot. Why would you do that? That's weird. Why would it, as anybody in a position of handling that situation, why would you ask somebody that's most likely laying down playing dead, and they hear a voice of reason, like, oh shit, like that person might be here to save me. Of course there's gonna be some that want to be saved in a panic, you know what I mean? It's fucked up. But yeah, I don't know, I just had that thought that I wonder if that shit is happening. And I know hiring practices with law enforcement are fucked up. Motherfuckers' cousins and brothers get the jobs rather than somebody that's bona fide for the position. Some fucking scary ass fucking nerd gets a job instead of somebody from that neighborhood or from that area. You know, if I'm not saying nerds are bad, and I'm not saying they're weak or scared or anything. Some thug that thinks he's bad, you know, and became a cop. I'm just saying, if somebody spends the majority of their life in their house or with their parents or in school, and they're constantly trying to better themselves from, say, junior high on, and they're doing activities having to do with school, or even law enforcement. There was people in junior, like, law enforcement and stuff that was in school. But if they're not out there in the real world and dealing with real world situations, they're not going to understand what it takes, you know, to certain things. Some of them will. There will be a few of those that are like anybody that's a natural at something. But there's an issue. There's something that caused that fucking shit, dude. And I can't sit here and think it's, oh, because law enforcement's fucking pussies. I don't think that way. All law enforcement's bad. I don't think that way. If we use a ratio, how many cops were there, and out of that many cops, how many went in, we'd have a 0 fucking ratio, son. So how they do fucking all these, what are they called? Statistics and all that. If there was 50 officers there, 50 out of blah blah, you know, or like 10 out of 50 officers. We did a study, and the research found that 50 out of this many fucking suck dick or whatever, you know what I mean? If we did a real quick study on how many officers in Texas would enter a building to save children's lives, and then we use that number of officers as research and put in how many went in after that. I know from what I heard, one firefighter dude that was off, and he just heard about it, kitted up and ran past the cops and went in there. If that's true, you know what I mean? He's like part of some extra group outside of being a firefighter that deals with fucking machine gunning motherfuckers and shit. But so there's a difference. And I just wonder if, because we know not 0% of Texas law enforcement would back down like that. We know that's not the case. We know there's some good law enforcement officers out there, because some have put their lives on the line, you know. Those ones didn't. Just because you put a uniform on doesn't mean you're putting your life on the line. That's weird. You know, some neighborhoods, I guess, yeah, it does, because you're getting fucking shot at and shit. But for the most part, just because you suit up and boot up, don't mean you're putting your life on the line. You gotta be off, like run into a motherfucking building and shit. Son, bop, 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 bop. Somebody fucking sending rounds down. You know, I've been shot at. Boom, 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 boom. Some dude one time was just dumping, and he was standing all fucking, his stance was all perfect and shit, and I was just like, I was running right at him. And then there was another time I was shot at, and I like froze for the first like 3 rounds, because just a wallop of being downrange with a 7.62 out of a short barrel rifle is the motherfucker. That shit does not feel good. And I was all, I didn't think of death or nothing. It just, nothing slowed down yet. It was just the weirdest sensation in the world. And I was like, oh. And then once everything went, was out, son. If I had to take a shit, I would have shit my pants. If I would have been hydrated that day and had to take a piss, I would have pissed my pants. You know? Not to mention other stuff, but there was a lot of situations like that. But if I wouldn't even have to have a gun, dude. If I knew some dude was gonna go smoke some. I've been in a situation a million times, not like where I see somebody running into a school, but where the possibility was one, or somebody was gonna get hurt. Didn't even have to be a kid. I was on that shit without nothing. Didn't give a fuck. So I just wonder, that's it, I'm just wondering if a rewire of the brain happened to law enforcement due to the fact that they're so fucking fuck you'd in society, you know what I mean? Constantly, every single fucking day, all day long, you know? So maybe their brains got rewired a little bit to where they're in a constant state of self-protection, and then that moment that they have no control, they made the wrong decision because they've been in a constant state of self-protection for so long. Even if they're just at home and they've been in no action or nothing, the fact that they're constantly watching the news and all this shit's happening, a dumbass cop did some dumbass shit, they're gonna feel something about that, you know what I mean? When people try to villainize all white people, I'm glad I know the difference, you know, and I don't really get too pissed off about it. I just try to help other people that think all white people are bad or all cops are bad, or I just realize there's people out there that demonize a whole group for some, you know, but there's people that are being triggered into saying stupid shit just because they feel attacked because people are attacking the white race. They're trying to tell kids that all the white race is evil, and that's weird to me because everybody knows at least one good white person, and there's not just one good white person out there. I know a bunch of them. I know a bunch of fucked up white people. I know a bunch of great Mexican people. I know some fucked up Mexican people. I know some fucked up Mexican people that are good people. It's kind of weird. I know some fucked up ass white people that are good white people. They just had enough. They don't fucking take the bullshit. You know? They can't. But it is what it is. So yeah, I just questioned that. I wonder if it was like a subliminal thing that they were not aware of. We'll find out though, because I would guess the next step would be some of them would start doming themselves once they realize how bad they fucked up. Because yeah, that shit was fucked up. You leave that motherfucker in there with all the kids and shit. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that happened. But yeah, check that out. Check out Salty Cracker's video because he has information on that Buffalo shooter. And there might be more people involved and responsible than just that Buffalo shooter, son. So, just like the Whitmer case. Over here at Pick Apart. I'm gonna go try to get some car parts, son. Save some money, dog. Alright, have a good day. Do something positive. Peace.